Captain Bruce Taylor of the interstellar research vessel Prometheus stared at the flashing red warning lights on his console. The life support systems were failing, and his alien crewmates were entering mating season. They couldn't be satisfied, and now he faced a critical decision. "Navigation, find the nearest habitable planet," Bruce ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around him. The ship's computer chirped in response, displaying a nearby world that seemed promising. With no other choice, Bruce set course for the unknown planet. As the Prometheus touched down on the alien surface, Bruce surveyed the landscape through the view screen. The planet's terrain was rugged, dotted with strange, bulbous vegetation. In the distance, he spotted movement, large, imposing figures approaching the ship. Bruce led a small team to meet the planet's inhabitants. As they exited the airlock, he found himself face-to-face with the Chalnoth, a race of physically intimidating aliens. Their leader, a male called Taurus, stepped forward. "Welcome, travelers," Taurus rumbled, his massive form towering over Bruce. "We offer you shelter and aid." Bruce nodded gratefully, explaining their predicament. As Taurus led them to the Chalnoth colony, Bruce couldn't help but notice the tense atmosphere. The aliens moved with a nervous energy, casting furtive glances at one another. It didn't take long for Bruce to realize why. They had arrived during the Chalnoth mating season, a time of heightened aggression and uncontrollable urges. As his crew worked on repairing the Prometheus, they found themselves constantly interrupted by amorous Chalnoth-seeking partners. Bruce observed the interactions between the aliens with growing concern. The females, significantly larger and stronger than the males, pursued their potential mates with a frightening intensity. He watched as one female Chalnoth grappled with a male, the latter's expression a mix of desire and terror. Taurus approached Bruce, his eyes darting nervously. "Your arrival has complicated matters," he admitted. "Our females are drawn to your exotic scents. They may seek you as mates." Bruce's blood ran cold as he processed this information. He had to protect his crew and complete the repairs before the situation spiraled out of control. But how? As if on cue, a group of female Chalnoth approached, their eyes fixed hungrily on Bruce and his male crew members. Bruce tensed, ready to defend his team, when Taurus intervened. "Tell me, Captain," Taurus said, loudly enough for the females to hear, "how do humans mate? Your practices intrigue us." Bruce blinked, surprised by the question. Then understanding dawned. Taurus was buying them time, using the Chalnoth's curiosity as a distraction. Bruce seized the opportunity, launching into a detailed explanation of human courtship and reproduction. The female Chalnoth paused their advance, listening with rapt attention. Bruce noticed Taurus visibly relax as the immediate threat subsided, but he knew this was only a temporary solution. As he continued to engage the Chalnoth with tales of human sexuality, Bruce's mind raced. He needed a plan, one that would allow his crew to complete the repairs and escape before they became unwilling participants in the Chalnoth mating frenzy. Time was running out. The Chalnoth's curiosity would only hold them at bay for so long. Bruce could see the growing agitation in the aliens' movements, the barely contained urges threatening to overwhelm their interest in human mating habits. With a deep breath, Bruce prepared to implement his risky strategy. He had to use the Chalnoth's fascination with humans to his advantage, creating a diversion that would give his crew the time they needed. The fate of the Prometheus and its crew hung in the balance, with only Bruce's wit and the peculiarities of human sexuality standing between them and a potentially deadly alien mating season. Bruce's mind raced as he continued to engage the Chalnoth with tales of human sexuality. The aliens' curiosity was palpable, but he could see the growing agitation in their movements. It was clear that their interest would only hold them at bay for so long. As he prepared to implement his risky strategy, a young Chalnoth female approached. Unlike her more aggressive counterparts, she moved with hesitation, her large eyes conveying a mix of fear and fascination. "I am Zara," she said, her voice soft and trembling. "I wish to learn more about your human ways." Bruce paused, recognizing an unexpected opportunity. He nodded, gesturing for Zara to join him. "Of course. What would you like to know?" As they spoke, Bruce noticed the stark difference between Zara and the other Chalnoth females. Where they exuded aggression and nearly unleashed lust, Zara's demeanor was gentle, almost timid. Your mating practices, Zara began, her eyes darting nervously to her fellow Chalnoth. They seem so different from ours. Is it true that your males survived the process? Bruce couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for the young alien. Yes, that's true. In fact, human mating is typically a positive experience for both partners. Zara's eyes widened with wonder. Both partners? You mean the females don't hurt the males? As Bruce explained the concepts of mutual consent and emotional connection, he watched a profound change come over Zara. Her initial terror gradually transformed into curiosity and excitement. This is beautiful, Zara whispered, her voice filled with awe. I've always feared our mating season, the violence, the injuries. I couldn't bear to participate. Bruce's heart went out to the young Chalnoth. He realized that Zara was an outcast among her own people, her gentle nature at odds with their violent customs. As they continued to talk, Bruce became aware of the growing tension around them. The other Chalnoth watched their interaction with a mix of suspicion and intrigue. Some seemed hostile, while others appeared curious about this unconventional exchange. Taurus, the Chalnoth leader, approached with a troubled expression. Captain, he rumbled, your influence is causing unrest among my people. Bruce nodded, understanding the delicate situation. I apologize if we've caused any disruption, Taurus. We're simply sharing cultural information. Taurus's eyes narrowed. Perhaps. But be warned, human. Our ways have sustained us for generations. Change can be dangerous. As Taurus walked away, Bruce felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He glanced at his crew, still working diligently on repairing the Prometheus. They were making progress, but not quickly enough. Bruce turned back to Zara, an idea forming in his mind. Zara, would you be willing to help us? To share what you've learned with your people? Zara's eyes widened with a mix of excitement and fear. You mean, tell them about human mating practices? But they might not listen to me. I'm not exactly respected among my kind. Bruce placed a reassuring hand on Zara's shoulder, feeling the alien muscle tense beneath his touch. Sometimes, it only takes one voice to start a change. Your people are curious about us. If you could show them that there's another way, a less violent way. Zara nodded slowly, her dedication visibly strengthening. I will try. As night fell on the alien planet, Bruce watched Zara move among her people, speaking in hushed tones. Some Chalnoth recoiled from her, but others listened with growing interest. Bruce's second-in-command, Lieutenant Chen, approached him with a concerned expression. Captain, are you sure about this? Getting involved in alien cultural practices could be dangerous. Bruce sighed, running a hand through his hair. I know it's a risk, Chen, but if we can shift their focus even a little, it might buy us the time we need to finish repairs. Chen nodded, though his expression remained troubled. Just be careful, sir. Some of the crew are worried that your involvement with Zara might compromise our mission. Bruce felt a twinge of guilt. He couldn't deny that he'd developed a connection with the young Chalnoth, but he pushed the feeling aside. Their survival had to come first. As the alien sun began to rise, casting an eerie purple glow across the landscape, Bruce knew that the coming day would be crucial. The repairs were nearly complete, but the Chalnoth's mating frenzy was reaching its peak. He watched as Zara continued her efforts, her voice growing stronger as she spoke to a group of younger Chalnoth. Some listened with rapt attention, while others scoffed and turned away. Taurus observed from a distance, his massive form tense with impossibly strong anger. Bruce could see the Chalnoth leader weighing his options, possibly considering more drastic measures to maintain control. Bruce turned to his crew, his voice low and urgent. Double your efforts. We need to be ready to leave at a moment's notice. As the alien day dawned, Bruce found himself caught between two worlds. On one side, his crew and their mission. On the other, Zara and the possibility of initiating real change among the Chalnoth. He knew that the next few hours would determine not only their fate, but potentially the future of an entire alien culture. With a deep breath, Bruce steeled himself for the challenges ahead, hoping that the delicate balance he'd struck would hold long enough for them to escape. As the alien sun crested the horizon, bathing the landscape in an eerie purple glow, Bruce watched Zara move among her people with growing confidence. Her voice, once timid and hesitant, now carried a note of conviction as she approached a group of younger Chalnoth females who had been observing the humans with undisguised curiosity. "Sisters," Zara began, her large eyes shining with excitement, "I have learned of a different way. The humans, their mating practices are unlike anything we've known." Bruce watched as the young Chalnoth gathered around Zara, their expressions a mix of skepticism and intrigue. He could see the subtle shift in their body language as Zara spoke of consent, mutual pleasure, and emotional connection, concepts alien to their violent mating rituals. "They choose their partners," Zara explained, gesturing towards the human crew, "and both find joy in the act. There is no fear, no pain." As Zara continued her impromptu lesson, Bruce turned his attention back to the Prometheus. His crew worked feverishly, their hands flying over control panels and exposed circuitry. The repairs were progressing, but Bruce could feel the pressure mounting with each passing moment. Lieutenant Chen approached, wiping sweat from his brow. "We're at 85% capacity, Captain. Another hour, maybe 2, and we'll be ready for liftoff." Bruce nodded, his eyes scanning the Chalnoth gathered around them. "Good work. Keep pushing. I have a feeling we might need to make a quick exit." As if to underscore his words, Bruce noticed a subtle change in the behavior of some of the Chalnoth females. A small group, clearly influenced by Zara's teachings, began to approach the human males with less aggression and more curiosity. One, bolder than the rest, mimicked a human gesture she had observed, extending her hand in what appeared to be an attempt at a handshake. The human crewman, startled but quick-thinking, accepted the gesture. The Chalnoth female's face lit up with something akin to wonder, and Bruce could see the ripple effect as others watched and learned. However, not everyone was pleased with this cultural exchange. From the corner of his eye, Bruce spotted Taurus, the Chalnoth leader, watching the proceedings with growing alarm. The massive alien's muscles were tense, his eyes narrow slits of disapproval. Before Bruce could react, Taurus let out a thunderous roar. "Enough! This ends now!" The Chalnoth leader stormed towards a group of elders, his voice carrying across the clearing. "These humans are a threat to our ways. We must act now, before it's too late." Bruce felt a chill run down his spine as he watched Taurus gesture angrily towards the Prometheus. The meaning was clear. The Chalnoth leader was calling for their expulsion, perhaps even the destruction of their ship. As if sensing his thoughts, Zara appeared at Bruce's side, her breath coming in quick gasps. "Captain, I overheard them. Taurus wants you gone, immediately. He spoke of destroying your vessel if necessary." Bruce's mind raced, weighing their options. The repairs weren't complete, and even if they were, fleeing now would mean abandoning Zara and the progress they'd made. He knew he had to act, to find a way to buy more time, and possibly change the Chalnoth's minds. "Zara," he said, turning to face the young alien, "I have an idea, but I need your help. It's risky and it might shock your people, but it could be our only chance." Zara's eyes widened, a mix of fear and excitement dancing in their depths. "What do you need me to do?" Bruce took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. "We're going to show them. A public demonstration of human mating practices. It's the only way they'll truly understand." As Bruce outlined his plan, he could see the transformation in Zara's demeanor. The fear that had once dominated her features when discussing mating was replaced by a burning curiosity and purpose. "I'll do it," Zara declared, her voice steady. "I'll participate in the demonstration with you, Bruce. It's time my people saw another way." Bruce nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and apprehension. He turned to address his crew, explaining the situation and his proposed solution. The reaction was mixed, some nodding in agreement, seeing it as their best chance for survival, while others shifted uncomfortably, clearly concerned about the potential consequences. As Bruce prepared for the demonstration, Dr. Elena Vasquez approached, her face etched with worry. "Captain, I've made a concerning discovery. The planet's atmosphere, it's affecting our hormone levels. The human males are becoming increasingly attractive to the Chalnoth females. If we don't act soon, we might trigger a full-blown mating frenzy. Bruce absorbed this new information, feeling the weight of their situation pressing down on him. Time was running out, and the stakes had just gotten higher. With a nod to Zara, Bruce stepped forward, facing the gathered Chalnoth. He could see Taurus and the elders watching with hostile expressions, while the younger Chalnoth leaned forward in anticipation. "People of Chalnoth," Bruce began, his voice carrying across the now silent clearing, "we've come to your world as friends and guests. We've shared our knowledge, and now we wish to share something more, a demonstration of how humans approach the act of mating." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Bruce could see shock, disgust, and intense curiosity warring on the faces before him. Zara stood tall at his side, her presence a silent challenge to her people's preconceptions. As Bruce prepared to begin the demonstration, he caught sight of his crew working frantically on the Prometheus in the background. Their fate, and possibly the future of Chalnoth society, now hinged on what happened next. Taking a deep breath, Bruce reached out and gently took Zara's hand in his own, the first step in showing the Chalnoth a different path, one of gentleness, consent, and mutual respect. The crowd fell into a hushed silence, all eyes fixed on the unlikely pair as they stood on the precipice of a cultural revolution. Bruce stood before the gathered Chalnoth, his heart pounding. Zara's presence at his side lent him strength as he faced the sea of alien faces, some curious, others hostile. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. "People of Chalnoth," he began, his voice steady and clear, "we've shared our knowledge with you, and now we wish to demonstrate something more, how humans approach the act of mating." A ripple of murmurs swept through the crowd. Bruce could see shock and disgust on some faces, while others leaned forward in anticipation. Taurus and the elders glowered from the sidelines, their disapproval palpable. Bruce turned to Zara, his movements slow and deliberate. He gently took her hand in his, feeling the alien texture of her skin. "The first step in human mating practices is consent," he explained, his eyes locked with Zara's. "Both partners must agree to participate." Zara nodded, her large eyes shining with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Bruce continued, "Next, we establish an emotional connection through gentle touch and affectionate gestures." He raised his free hand, carefully brushing it against Zara's cheek. The young Chalnoth's breath hitched, her skin flushing a deeper shade of green. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Bruce pulled Zara into a gentle embrace. "This is called a hug," Bruce explained, his voice slightly muffled by Zara's shoulder. "It's a way to show affection and comfort." As they separated, Bruce noticed a change in the crowd. Some of the younger Chalnoth were mimicking the gesture, awkwardly wrapping their arms around each other. Others watched with undisguised fascination. Bruce's heart raced as he prepared for the next step. He leaned in, pressing his lips softly against Zara's in a chaste kiss. The collective gasp from the audience was almost deafening. "This is a kiss," Bruce said, his voice husky. "It's another way humans show affection and desire." Before he could continue, a roar of outrage split the air. Taurus barreled through the crowd, his massive form radiating fury. "Enough!" he bellowed. "This weakness ends now!" Chaos erupted as Taurus and his supporters charged forward. Bruce found himself suddenly surrounded by snarling Chalnoth, their claws extended and teeth bared. But to his surprise, a group of younger aliens moved to intercept them, forming a protective circle around Bruce and Zara. "No!" one of the young Chalnoth shouted. "We want to learn more!" The clearing devolved into a frenzy of shouting and pushing. Bruce caught sight of Dr. Vasquez slipping away towards the Prometheus with a small team. He silently wished them luck, knowing they were racing against time to complete the repairs. Zara's voice cut through the pandemonium. "Stop!" she cried, her words ringing with newfound authority. "Can't you see? There's another way!" The fighting paused momentarily as all eyes turned to Zara. She stood tall, her earlier timidity gone. "Our ways have brought us nothing but pain and fear," she continued. "The humans have shown us that mating can be gentle, consensual, even joyful. Why do we cling to violence when there's a better path?" Her words seemed to strike a chord with many of the younger Chalnoth. They nodded in agreement, moving closer to Zara and away from Taurus's group. Taurus snarled, his massive frame trembling with rage. "You dare challenge our traditions, our very way of life?" "I do," Zara replied, her voice unwavering. "For too long, we've accepted brutality as the only way. It's time for change." The standoff was broken by a sudden commotion from the direction of the Prometheus. Bruce turned to see Dr. Vasquez and her team sprinting towards them, pursued by a group of frenzied Chalnoth females. "Captain," Vasquez shouted, her face flushed. "The repairs are complete, but we've got a problem. The planet's atmosphere is affecting our hormone levels. The Chalnoth females are being driven into a mating frenzy by our pheromones." Bruce's mind raced. They needed to leave now, before the situation spiraled completely out of control. "All crew, fall back to the Prometheus," he ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. As the human crew began to retreat, they found their path blocked by Taurus and his supporters. The massive Chalnoth leader bared his teeth in a feral grin. "You're not going anywhere, humans. Your ship will be destroyed, and your corrupting influence with it." Bruce tensed, preparing for a fight. But before anyone could move, Zara and her group of young supporters positioned themselves between the humans and Taurus. "If you want to harm them, you'll have to go through us," Zara declared, her voice ringing with willpower. What followed was a blur of action. Bruce and his crew used their combat training and superior agility to dodge and weave through the Chalnoth's attacks. Zara and her followers provided crucial support, creating openings and distractions that allowed the humans to break through. As they neared the Prometheus, Bruce heard Zara's voice calling out to him. "Bruce, please, take us with you." He turned to see Zara and a small group of her supporters, their eyes wide with fear and hope. "We can't stay here," Zara pleaded. "They'll kill us for what we've done." Bruce hesitated, torn between his duty and his conscience. Taking aliens aboard would be a massive breach of protocol, one that could end his career and jeopardize the entire mission. But leaving Zara and her followers to face Taurus's wrath was unthinkable. The Prometheus's engines roared to life, the ship's alarms blaring urgently. Bruce knew he had only seconds to make a decision that would change not only his life, but the future of Chalnoth society. With a quick gesture, he motioned for Zara and her group to follow. "Quickly!" he shouted over the din of the engines and the approaching Chalnoth horde. As they raced up the gangway, Bruce's mind whirled with the potential consequences of his choice. But there was no time for second-guessing now. The door sealed behind them with a hiss of hydraulics, leaving the sounds of chaos outside. Bruce sprinted to the bridge, barking orders as he went. "Prepare for immediate takeoff. All hands, secure for emergency departure." As the Prometheus began to lift off, Bruce caught a final glimpse of the alien world through the view screen. Taurus and his followers raged impotently below, while groups of younger Chalnoth watched the ship's ascent with a mix of awe and longing. The ship shuddered as it broke free of the planet's atmosphere, leaving behind a world forever changed by their visit. Bruce turned to see Zara and her small group huddled together, their eyes wide with wonder and fear at their new surroundings. He knew that the repercussions of this decision would be far-reaching and complex. But as he met Zara's grateful gaze, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, humans and Chalnoth alike. As the Prometheus broke free of Chalnoth's atmosphere, Bruce exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. The ship's engines thrummed beneath his feet, a comforting vibration that signaled their escape from the chaos below. He turned to face the small group of Chalnoth refugees huddled on the bridge, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and wonder. "Welcome aboard," Bruce said, his voice steady despite the turmoil in his mind. "I know this is all new and frightening, but I promise you're safe here." Zara stepped forward, her gaze meeting Bruce's. "Thank you, Captain. We owe you our lives." Bruce nodded, then turned to his crew. "Dr. Vasquez, I need you to conduct full medical examinations on our new passengers. We need to ensure there are no biological risks to either species." Elena nodded, her professional demeanor taking over. "Of course, Captain. I'll set up in the med bay immediately." As the doctor led the Chalnoth away, Bruce sank into the captain's chair, his mind racing. He knew he'd have to face the consequences of his actions soon enough. "Open a channel to Earth Command," he ordered, bracing himself for the difficult conversation ahead. Before the communication could be established, a priority alert flashed across the main view screen. Bruce leaned forward, his brow furrowing as he read the urgent message. "Change of plans," he announced to the bridge crew. "We've received a distress call from the human colony on Epsilon 9. They're under attack by an unknown alien force." The crew exchanged worried glances as Bruce continued. "We're the only ship within range to provide immediate assistance. Set course for Epsilon 9, maximum speed." As the Prometheus altered its trajectory, Bruce felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. He'd already bent the rules by bringing the Chalnoth aboard. Now he was about to thrust them into the middle of a combat situation. Hours later, as they approached Epsilon 9, the ship's sensors detected a massive alien warship in orbit around the planet. Bruce's blood ran cold as he recognized the distinctive design. "Zorn," he muttered, his hands clenching into fists. The aggressive species was known throughout the galaxy for their brutal conquests and merciless tactics. Bruce called for a strategy meeting, gathering his top officers and, after a moment's hesitation, inviting Zara to join them. As they discussed their options, Zara cleared her throat, her expression a mix of nervousness and willpower. "Captain," she began, "there's something you should know about Chalnoth physiology. It might help in this situation." Bruce raised an eyebrow, motioning for her to continue. "Our females possess the ability to secrete powerful pheromones," Zara explained. "They're normally used in our mating rituals, but they can have a disorienting effect on other species. If we could find a way to weaponize this..." Bruce's eyes widened as he considered the possibilities. "Dr. Vasquez, how quickly can you develop a delivery system for these pheromones?" Elena's mind was already racing with ideas. "With the Chalnoth's cooperation, we could have something ready within hours." "Make it happen," Bruce ordered. He turned to his tactical officer. "In the meantime, prepare a joint strike team. I want our best soldiers working alongside our Chalnoth allies. We'll need to combine their strength with our technology if we hope to repel this invasion." As the Prometheus entered Epsilon 9's atmosphere, Bruce stood at the helm, watching the Zorn forces swarm across the colony's surface. The ship shuddered as it took fire from ground batteries. "Evasive maneuvers!" Bruce shouted, gripping his chair as the ship banked sharply. "Get us on the ground!" The moment the Prometheus touched down, Bruce led the charge. Human soldiers poured out of the ship alongside their Chalnoth allies, forming an unlikely but formidable fighting force. The sounds of energy weapons and the Chalnoth's guttural battle cries filled the air as they engaged the Zorn invaders. Bruce found himself fighting back-to-back with Zara, her powerful claws tearing through Zorn armor while he picked off targets with precise shots from his pulse rifle. Despite never having trained together, the humans and Chalnoth moved with surprising coordination, their different strengths complementing each other in the heat of battle. As they pushed the Zorn back from the colony's main defensive line, Bruce's comm unit crackled to life. "Captain," Elena's voice came through, breathless but triumphant. "The pheromone weapon is ready for deployment." Bruce was about to give the order when a new voice cut across all frequencies. "Attention, human forces. This is Commander Vex of the Zorn Dominion. I wish to parley." Signaling for his forces to hold position, Bruce responded cautiously. "This is Captain Bruce Taylor of the Earthship Prometheus. What do you want, Commander?" "I find myself intrigued by your unusual alliance." Vex's voice held a note of genuine curiosity. "We would be willing to withdraw our forces in exchange for information about your cooperation with these aliens, particularly your mating practices." Bruce felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. The offer was tempting, an immediate end to the conflict with no further loss of life. But the price, sharing intimate details about human and Chalnoth relationships, potentially compromising both cultures. As he weighed his options, Bruce's gaze fell on Zara. She stood tall among the human soldiers, her presence a testament to the unexpected bond that had formed between their species. In that moment, he knew he couldn't betray the trust she and her people had placed in him. Bruce's finger hovered over the comm button, his decision made. But before he could respond to Commander Vex, a sudden explosion rocked the battlefield. Through the smoke and debris, Bruce saw a new wave of Zorn troops advancing, their weapons blazing. The parley had been a ruse, a distraction to allow the Zorn to regroup and launch a counterattack. Bruce's mind raced as he assessed their options. The pheromone weapon was ready, but untested. Using it could end the battle quickly, but at what cost? The effects on the Zorn, or on his own troops, were unknown. As energy blasts sizzled past his head, Bruce knew he had to act fast. The fate of the colony, his crew, and the future of human-Chalnoth relations hung in the balance. Whatever he decided would shape the course of interstellar diplomacy for years to come. Bruce raised his hand, preparing to give the order that would change everything. Deploy the pheromone weapon, he commanded, his voice firm despite the weight of his decision. Dr. Vasquez's voice crackled over the comm. Releasing now, Captain. A fine mist dispersed from canisters strategically placed around the battlefield. Within moments, the effect on the Zorn forces became apparent. The alien invaders stumbled, their coordinated assault dissolving into chaos as the pheromones wreaked havoc on their senses. Now! Bruce shouted, signaling the joint human-Chalnoth counterattack. Human soldiers and Chalnoth warriors surged forward, their unlikely alliance proving devastatingly effective against the disoriented Zorn. Bruce found himself fighting alongside Zara, her powerful claws tearing through alien armor, while he picked off stragglers with precise shots from his pulse rifle. As they pushed deeper into enemy territory, Bruce noticed a change in the humans around him. Male soldiers began to move with an unusual intensity, their eyes wild and unfocused. He felt it too, a rising heat in his blood, an insistent thrum of arousal that threatened to overwhelm his senses. Captain? Elena's voice came through his comm, breathless and urgent. The pheromones are affecting our people, the males especially. I'm seeing elevated heart rates, increased aggression, and other physiological responses. Bruce gritted his teeth, fighting to maintain his focus as the battle raged around him. Understood, Doctor. Work on a counteragent. We'll deal with it after we've secured the colony. Beside him, Zara observed the human males with fascination. Despite their obvious arousal, they continued to fight with discipline and restraint. It was a level of control she had never witnessed in Chalnoth males under similar circumstances. As they neared the Zorn command post, a booming voice echoed across the battlefield. All units, fall back. Repeat, all units, fall back to the ship. The Zorn forces began a chaotic retreat, their once fearsome army now a scattered mess of confused aliens, stumbling towards their landing craft. In the confusion, many were left behind, quickly surrounded and captured by the human Chalnoth forces. With the immediate threat neutralized, Bruce turned his attention to the new crisis developing among his own people. All around him, human males struggled to control their heightened arousal. Some paced restlessly, while others engaged in frenzied exercise, desperate to burn off excess energy. Captain, Zara approached, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. I have a proposal. This situation presents a unique opportunity for our peoples to learn from each other. Allow me to observe how your species manages these urges. It could provide valuable insights for my people on self-control and nonviolent mating practices. Bruce hesitated, acutely aware of the sensitive nature of the request. But as he looked around at his crew, professional soldiers maintaining their composure despite their obvious discomfort, he recognized the potential value of such an exchange. All right, he agreed, but under strict supervision. Dr. Vasquez will oversee everything. As word of the study spread, tensions rose among the human crew. Ensign Rodriguez voiced his objections loudly. This is a violation of our privacy. We're not some science experiment. Others, like Lieutenant Chen, saw it differently. If it helps us understand each other better, maybe it's worth it. Isn't that why we're out here in the first place? Bruce raised his hands, calling for calm. I understand your concerns. Participation is entirely voluntary. But remember, this could be a crucial step in fostering understanding between our species. As night fell on the colony, a new complication arose. Several of the younger Chalnoth who had accompanied Zara began showing signs of entering their mating cycle, triggered by the high concentration of pheromones in the environment. Zara approached Bruce, her expression taut with worry. "Captain, we have a problem. If my people revert to our traditional mating practices here, it could be disastrous." Bruce ran a hand through his hair, feeling the weight of command more heavily than ever. The success of their alliance, the safety of the colony, and the potential for lasting peace with the Zorn all hinged on how they navigated the next few hours. "All right," he said, making a decision. "We'll set up separate areas for humans. And Chalnoth. Dr. Vasquez will monitor both groups. Zara, I need you to work with your people. Help them find non-violent ways to manage their urges." As the arrangements were made, Bruce couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of the situation. Here they were, in the aftermath of an alien invasion, preparing for what might be the most unusual cultural exchange in human history. He watched as Dr. Vasquez set up monitoring equipment, while Zara gathered her people, speaking to them in low, urgent tones. Human crew members, still visibly affected by the pheromones, began to gather in their designated area, a mix of anticipation and apprehension on their faces. Bruce took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. The next few hours would test the limits of human-alien cooperation and challenge long-held beliefs about mating and relationships across species lines. Whatever happened, he knew that after tonight, nothing would ever be quite the same. Bruce took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. The next few hours would test the limits of human-alien cooperation and challenge long-held beliefs about mating and relationships across species lines. Whatever happened, he knew that after tonight, nothing would ever be quite the same. As darkness fell over the colony, Bruce's mind raced with potential solutions to the complex situation at hand. He gathered his senior officers, Dr. Vasquez and Zara, for an emergency meeting. "We need to contain this situation before it spirals out of control," Bruce said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "I propose we establish separate quarantine zones for each affected group: humans, Chalnoth, and our Zorn prisoners." Dr. Vasquez nodded in agreement. "That's a wise precaution, Captain. It will allow us to observe and study the effects of the pheromones on each species, without risking further complications." With swift efficiency, the colony was divided into 3 distinct areas. Human crew members affected by the pheromones were directed to the eastern sector, while Chalnoth refugees were guided to the western zone. The captured Zorn soldiers were securely contained in the southern district, under heavy guard. As the segregation was implemented, Dr. Vasquez wasted no time in setting up a makeshift research lab within the colony's medical facility. She worked tirelessly, analyzing blood samples from individuals of all 3 species. "If I can understand how the pheromones are affecting each group," she explained to Bruce as she peered into a microscope, "I might be able to find a way to neutralize their effects." Hours passed as Elena delved deeper into her research. Her dedication paid off when she made an intriguing discovery. "Captain," she called out, excitement evident in her voice, "you need to see this." Bruce hurried over to her workstation. "What have you found, Doctor?" "It appears that the human immune system is slowly adapting to the Chalnoth pheromones," she explained, pointing to a series of complex diagrams on her screen. "Given enough time, we might develop a natural resistance." While Dr. Vasquez continued her research, Bruce turned his attention to managing the affected individuals. To his surprise, Zara approached him with an unexpected offer. "Captain," she said, her voice filled with dedication, "my sisters and I wish to assist with the affected human males. We have techniques that might help them control their urges." Bruce raised an eyebrow, intrigued but cautious. "What kind of techniques?" "Meditation and mental exercises," Zara explained. "They are traditionally used by our people to manage mating urges. I believe they could be adapted for humans." After careful consideration, Bruce agreed to let Zara and a small group of Chalnoth females work with the affected human males under strict supervision. The results were surprising. Many of the human crew members showed marked improvement in their ability to control their arousal after learning the Chalnoth techniques. As the night wore on, an unexpected development arose. A group of younger Chalnoth females, led by Zara, approached Bruce with a bold proposal. "Captain," Zara began, her voice a mix of nervousness and excitement, "we wish to experiment with human mating practices." Bruce blinked in surprise. "Experiment?" Zara nodded. This situation provides a unique opportunity. We want to explore alternatives to our species' violent mating habits. We believe human practices might offer a gentler approach. After consulting with Dr. Vasquez and establishing strict guidelines, Bruce cautiously approved the study. As the experiments began, the Chalnoth females initially approached human intimacy with trepidation. However, as they observed and participated in nonviolent interactions, their fear gradually gave way to curiosity and eventually enjoyment. Zara, in particular, became an enthusiastic advocate for these new practices. This could revolutionize our society, she told Bruce, her eyes shining with excitement. Imagine a mating season without bloodshed or fear. Meanwhile, in the Zorn containment area, the alien prisoners watched the ongoing cultural exchange with growing interest. Their commander, initially hostile and defiant, began to engage Bruce in discussions about mating practices. Your methods are intriguing, the Zorn commander admitted grudgingly. Perhaps there are alternatives to our own aggressive reproduction strategies that we have not considered. As dawn approached, Dr. Vasquez made a breakthrough in her research. She burst into Bruce's makeshift office, clutching a data pad. Captain, I've developed a compound that can significantly reduce the effects of the Chalnoth pheromones on humans. Bruce's face lit up with relief. That's excellent news, Doctor. How soon can we administer it? Elena's expression turned serious. That's the catch. It will take several hours to take full effect. The affected individuals will need to continue exercising self-control until then. Bruce nodded, understanding the challenge ahead. All right, let's begin administering the treatment immediately. In the meantime, we'll organize some cultural exchange workshops. It might help keep everyone's minds occupied. As the compound was distributed among the affected humans, Bruce set up a series of discussion groups. Members of all three species gathered to share their mating customs and discuss potential improvements. The conversations were lively and eye-opening, fostering an atmosphere of mutual understanding that Bruce had never thought possible. The Chalnoth refugees, inspired by their experiences with human intimacy, began formulating plans to introduce these concepts to their homeworld. We could change everything, one of them told Bruce, her voice filled with hope. No more dreading the mating season, no more violence. As the first rays of sunlight peeked over the horizon, Bruce found himself facing a new set of challenges. The immediate crisis was waning, but the repercussions of the night's events would be far-reaching. He began drafting a detailed report for Earth Command, knowing that his decisions would have profound consequences for human-alien relations. The Zorn commander approached Bruce as he worked on his report. Captain Taylor, the alien said, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant, I wish to propose a ceasefire between our peoples. Perhaps a cultural exchange program could be beneficial for both our species. Bruce looked up from his work, surprised but intrigued by the offer. He realized that the events of the past day had opened up unprecedented opportunities for interspecies cooperation and cultural evolution. As he considered the Zorn commander's proposal, his mind raced with the possibilities and challenges that lay ahead. As Bruce pondered the Zorn commander's proposal, a message alert chimed on his communication device. He glanced at the screen and his eyes widened. Excuse me, he said to the Zorn commander. I need to take this. Bruce stepped away and activated the secure channel. The stern face of Admiral Hernandez, his superior at Earth Command, filled the small screen. Captain Taylor, the Admiral began, her tone serious but tinged with excitement. We've reviewed your preliminary report. The events on your colony have presented us with an unprecedented opportunity. Bruce listened intently as Admiral Hernandez outlined a bold new initiative. Earth Command had authorized the establishment of an interspecies cultural exchange program, ICEP, right there on the colony world. The implications were staggering. You're to oversee the construction of a dedicated ICEP facility, Hernandez continued. This is top priority, Captain. We're looking at living quarters, research labs, communal spaces, the works, and it needs to accommodate humans, Chalnoth, and Zorn. Bruce's mind raced with the possibilities. Understood, Admiral. We'll begin immediately. As the weeks turned into months, the colony transformed. The ICEP facility took shape, a sprawling complex designed to foster interspecies cooperation and understanding. Bruce worked tirelessly, coordinating construction efforts while managing the delicate balance of relationships between the three species. Zara proved invaluable during this time. Her natural diplomacy and eagerness to learn made her the perfect liaison between the humans and Chalnoth. Bruce found himself relying on her more and more, not just for her insights, but for her companionship. One evening, as they walked through the nearly completed ICP complex, Zara turned to Bruce, her eyes shining with excitement. "This is more than I ever dreamed possible," she said, gesturing to the bustling construction site around them. "To think, just months ago, our peoples were at odds. And now—" Bruce nodded, feeling a swell of pride. "It's remarkable, but we've only just begun." As news of the ICEP initiative spread across the galaxy, the colony saw an influx of visitors. Representatives from various alien species arrived, eager to participate in this groundbreaking program. Dr. Vasquez threw herself into her work, collaborating with alien scientists to develop new treatments and technologies. Her lab became a hub of innovation, with breakthroughs happening almost daily. The Chalnoth refugees, once uncertain of their place in the colony, now found purpose as cultural ambassadors. They shared their experiences of adopting gentler mating methods, inspiring others to consider alternatives to their traditional practices. True to their word, the Zorn sent a delegation to participate in the exchange. Their initial wariness gave way to genuine curiosity as they engaged in discussions about reproductive strategies and relationship dynamics. One morning, Bruce received an unexpected visitor in his office. It was the Zorn commander, looking uncharacteristically hesitant. "Captain Taylor," the alien began, we have a request." Bruce leaned forward, intrigued. "Go on." The Zorn explained that after observing the success of Dr. Vasquez's treatments for humans affected by Chalnoth pheromones, they wondered if similar techniques could be applied to their own species. "Our aggressive mating instincts have long been a source of difficulty," the commander admitted. "If there's a way to modulate them, to find a middle ground—" Bruce immediately contacted Dr. Vasquez, and soon a new research initiative was underway. The implications for Zorn society were enormous. As the months passed, Bruce found himself facing an unexpected personal challenge. His relationship with Zara had deepened, evolving beyond friendship into something more profound. Yet the biological differences between their species presented significant obstacles. Late one night, as they sat together in Bruce's quarters, Zara broached the subject. "Bruce," she said softly, "I've been thinking about us, about our future." He took her hand, marveling at the difference in texture and temperature. "So have I." They discussed the challenges they faced, the physiological incompatibilities, the potential social backlash, the unknown long-term consequences. But as they talked, it became clear that their desire to be together outweighed their concerns. The next day, they approached Dr. Vasquez with a proposal. Could she develop a procedure that would allow them to safely engage in physical intimacy despite their differences? Elena's eyes lit up at the challenge. "It won't be easy," she warned, "but I believe it's possible. We'll need to run extensive tests, of course." Over the following weeks, Bruce and Zara underwent a series of examinations and treatments. It was a grueling process, but they persevered, driven by their commitment to each other and the hope their success might offer to other interspecies couples. Finally, after months of work, Dr. Vasquez announced a breakthrough. The procedure was ready. As Bruce and Zara prepared for the final treatment, news of their relationship spread throughout the colony. Reactions were mixed. Some expressed support, others skepticism, and a few outright hostility. But for every voice of opposition, there were many more who saw their union as a symbol of hope for the future. The day of the procedure arrived. Bruce and Zara entered Dr. Vasquez's lab hand in hand, nervous but determined. As the door closed behind them, they exchanged a look of love and trust. Whatever the outcome, they would face it together. Hours later, as they emerged from the lab, a small crowd had gathered outside. Humans, Chalnoth, and even a few Zorn waited anxiously for news. When Bruce and Zara appeared, their faces glowing with joy, a cheer erupted. Their success became a turning point for the ICEP initiative. Interspecies couples across the galaxy, inspired by their story, began to explore relationships that had once seemed impossible. The boundaries between species, once so rigid, began to blur. As the one-year anniversary of ICEP's establishment approached, Bruce received word that the colony had been chosen to host a grand symposium on interspecies relations. Representatives from dozens of alien races would be attending, eager to learn and share their experiences. Bruce and Zara threw themselves into the preparations, working tirelessly to ensure the event would be a success. They developed a joint presentation on the benefits of cultural exchange and mating practices, drawing on their personal experiences and the data collected over the past year. The day of the symposium arrived, and the ICEP complex buzzed with activity. Alien beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors moved through the halls, their voices a cacophony of languages and dialects. As Bruce surveyed the scene, he felt a profound sense of accomplishment. This gathering represented the culmination of everything they had worked for. The symposium opened with a series of presentations on various aspects of interspecies relations. Dr. Vasquez shared her groundbreaking work on cross-species medical treatments. The Zorn commander, now a staunch advocate for peaceful cooperation, spoke about the transformative effects of the ICEP initiative on his people. Finally, it was time for Bruce and Zara's presentation. As they took the stage together, hand in hand, a hush fell over the audience. Bruce looked out at the sea of faces, human, Chalnoth, Zorn, and dozens of other species he could barely name. In that moment, he realized just how far they had come. "Friends," he began, his voice strong and clear. "A year ago, we stood on the brink of conflict. Today, we stand united in our pursuit of understanding and cooperation." Zara stepped forward, her eyes shining. "Our journey has not been easy, but it has shown us that even the most daunting differences can be overcome with open minds and open hearts." As they launched into their presentation, showcasing how the integration of diverse mating practices had led to reduced violence and increased satisfaction across all participating species, Bruce felt a surge of hope for the future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that together they could face them. The symposium concluded with the drafting of a landmark document, the Galactic Accord on Reproductive Rights and Practices. As representatives from dozens of worlds affixed their signatures, Bruce realized that this was only the beginning. The next chapter in their interstellar adventure was about to unfold, and he couldn't wait to see where it would lead.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.